Greetings and salutations in our distance. This is I, Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. This time I'm going to show off the discontinued starter box for Traveller Mongoose 2nd Edition. Small notes about this. As I said before, this is discontinued. Mongoose Publishing has pretty much replaced this with Traveller Expedition or Explorers Edition, which is just a book, which is, probably cheaper to produce than a box set. Box sets generally are more expensive to deal with than books overall, because you have to manufacture the box, and you have to manufacture each book and the dice and any other things that are included in the box, and then you stick it all together. So you make something, and then you stick a bunch of things, make a bunch of things, stick the bunch of things together, and you ship out the bunch of things. Oftentimes, you have to ship all the bunch of things from separate places to a place to be assembled. So they're a little more expensive and to provide for, and less profitable overall, which was one of the things that took down original TSR because they really loved doing box sets. So this is a box set. It comes with 3 books, a giant 2-sided sector map, 6 pre-generated character cards, and 2 6-sided dice, because Traveller is a D6 system. As you can see, it's a fairly thin box. It's fairly straight and to the point. It's an all black box with a red highlight, standard Traveller colors. Please note that the cover of this box, the ships have paint on them. Oftentimes you'll see a version of this box online where the ships have no paint on them. It's the same box set. This MSRP is for $69.99. However, at this point now, since it's been discontinued for over a year now, these typically show up on eBay or Amazon. Amazon, they typically are floating around $100 now. And eBay, you'll typically come across them like in that $80 range. That's pretty much where the discontinued box sets are for newer editions or semi-new editions would be. So I'm going to continue on. It's an all-white background on the inside, which makes it a fairly durable lid. Being treated like this makes it more resistant to moisture and water, as opposed to the typical box sets that Wizards of the Coast has or some other companies, where it's not treated and any moisture damages it pretty quickly. As it says before on the back, you get 2 6-sided dice, and then you get 3 booklets. Now, these are not the typical booklets you get in a typical starter set. These booklets are actually fairly chunky books. They actually have around 127 pages in them. 120 range. So there's a total of 3 books. So each one of these books is thicker than Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer. Okay, Adventures in Space. So in the case of this discontinued box set, Mongoose Publishing put more into their books than Wizards of the Coast did. The only difference is in thickness is that these are soft cover, obviously, where the Wizards of the Coast slipcase is all solid cover. Yet again, that's a minor detail. The first book, by the way, is basically character creation, characters in combat. And the second book is Spacecraft and Worlds. And the third book is The Fall of Tanath, which you can buy as a PDF and I do believe as a print-on-demand adventure on TTRPG. That's about one of the few ways you can get it other than in this box set. I don't think Mongoose ever reprinted it in a regular book. You had to go through TTRPG to get it. As it said before, you get several pre-generated character sheets, which are actually quite nice. It's a single sheet for each character. You have the standard Traveller front side, as well as other miscellaneous information on the back side. The nice thing about Traveller, Call of Cthulhu, and many other games, particularly the skill-based games, is that they are typically games that are capable of having everything you need literally on one side of a sheet. And to some people who play like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, something like this is rather scary and intimidating. This is actually, in a way, in the case of Call of Cthulhu or some other games, way easier to play than Dungeons and Dragons. Now, some skill-based games, there is a bit more math in some situations and some conversion points. DM stands for dice modifier, so you have to adjust a few things in your brain. As it said before, there was a total of 6 characters, as well as a sector map. A sector map is a chunk of space in which your ship or your crew is traveling around. This happens to be the sector map for the region in which the adventure happens to occur in. You have a big blank side, and then you have... make it smaller. And then you have a map for the actual adventure. You see right here, where all the planets here. So there's a lot of blank spaces there. That's for you to generate your own worlds. Or if you got the core rulebooks, fill in the rest. There's this nice, beautiful ribbon inside of the box that helps with you pulling everything out and to putting all the character sheets back. By the way, these character sheets are not the cheap, flimsy sheets. These are actually pretty solid sheets overall. If you want to learn more about Traveller, particularly Mongoose 2nd Edition, I would suggest going over to Seth Sorkowski's channel. And he has an entire overview series for Traveller, showing off, explaining the mechanics of Traveller, how to generate a character, and etc., etc. Now, this is the really cool thing. As I said before, this is the third book is the adventure. And there is a lot of fun stuff in here. There's the map yet again. Various items and weapons you can purchase just in the adventure or get. And so forth. But, backing up to the very first book. This book, or actually I almost bashed my foot there. These 2 books are essentially the core rule book for Traveller, minus 2 sections. These 2 books are literally the core rule book for Traveller, minus 2 sections. If I remember correctly, the only sections that are missing from these 2 core rule books, is the psionics section. So if we were to go through that, you are essentially got 90% of the core rulebook in this book. It has very much the same basic layout. It walks you through various concepts of how to use the dice, the concept of dice modifiers, checks, rolls, technology level, etc., etc. All the basic terms, technology level 0 is primitive, TL1 is primitive as well. There's various levels of primitive. Just hold that up there. By the way, this is recorded in 4K, so provided that the camera can zoom in on that, you can actually read that if you zoom in on it. There is the Traveller creation rules. people will, if you were to go on forums and to read through the history of Traveller, the older editions, the classic editions from Games Designer Workshop, those editions, your character can die in character creation. And in Far Future Enterprises version of Traveller, or Traveller 5, your character can also die in character creation. But Mongoose Traveller does not have that as a default feature. It's a variant rule that you can opt into if you want to go old school, but you don't have to. As yet again, Traveller has beautiful artwork overall. There is a flowchart for creating a new character and the overflow of the events your character goes through. So what you basically happens is Traveller, this is explanation of all the features on the character sheet. Duplication 2 times. So you can actually pick out the pieces. But anyways, there's pre-career education. Basically, you have this little period as your character when they become 18 where they leave home and they go on their proto-adventure in life. They basically go to school or get a job or various other things. They have a backstory. Now, the neat thing about Traveller is this system builds your backstory for you. So you wanted to go to like college, you go to college. You roll on a table. So there's military academies and university, and you want to get a job or stuff like that. And you go through rolling dice. You say like you want to go into the military. Oh, you roll dice. You figure out the outcomes as such, and you continue on. And then if you say like fail, you have results. If you succeed, you get promoted, etc., etc. There's this nice little pre-game series of events where your character just goes through various things. There is actually a few different careers like agent, army, citizen, drifter, entertainer, marine, merchant, navy, noble, rogue, scholar, scout. Let's double check if that goes on to the next page, and it does not. There's a few different options in that. So when you pick one of these main ones, you go into, say, like you want to be an agent. You go with agent. You see law enforcement, intelligence, and corporate. There is qualification tests for getting into that career path. You roll on the table. You figure out, oh, I succeed. I go on to the next step, and so forth. There is survival, advancement, and so forth. Say like you want to go agent, you go to this section right here called agent, and you have remember the flow chart I mentioned before, a process of rolling through these tables to figure out, oh, I happen to get this X amount of money. I got a promotion. What skill did I pick up at this point in my character's life? Oh, I happen to say, like, what did I want to go with? I went with law enforcement. So I have these 3 up here, and then this one down here, law enforcement. Or if I went into intelligence, I have this one. If I went into corporate, I would have this one, plus the 3 on the top, etc., etc. And you flow through that. Yet again, Seth Sarkowski has a series of videos that goes deeper into depth into this. So there you go. There's army, there's citizen, and there's drifter. As I said before, there's skills and training, career progression, mustering out benefits. So when you finish that phase, do you want to leave that and go into some other career? There's your mustering out right there. There are ranks and bonuses. If you happen to climb some ranks, you get some bonuses for climbing those ranks. Whenever you end a phase, you end up rolling on a table, find out what happens, and then you get mishap. There's something bad happens. You roll on the mishap table. If there's an event, you roll on the events table, etc. Yet again, Seth Sarkowski covers this all in his series of videos. This is not a comprehensive video on that subject. He covers it in more detail and more precisely. So there you go. As we shoot through, as I said before, this is the complete rule book with the exception of you're missing the psionics area and psionics career. You got the life events section here. You got the Traveler's Aid Society section right here. You got aging table. As your character gets older, they get penalties, but they also get bonuses for education. You know, every so often you get an opportunity for advancing your knowledge. You got skill packages. This is an option right here if you want a quick build character. You just don't have time to screw around. You just go with it. Here, we quickly go over the various species in Traveller, such as the Aslan and the Vargar, humans and such. Humans are functionally the default species. They have really no major characteristics overall. So they're not even really covered. They're basically just, oh, you're a human. There you go. There's no real specialty about your character. But if you're an Aslan, which is a giant lion-like species, you do have special traits that your character has. And if you choose to be a Vargar, which is a wolf or a lupine creature, human species, you also have a set of traits that modifies the standard or the range in which the game assumes that you're a human if you're not using a human. Right here is post-career information, etc., training, etc. Here's a set of images giving you an idea what the various species looks like. There's a prisoner career, just in case you screwed up in life and went to prison. Skills and tasks. Difficulty tables, task chains, etc. The task chain is essentially there is basically a skill challenge that occurs in Traveller where one character, an event happens, and one character chooses an action, and another character can grant a bonus or a penalty, but depending on their skill level, to the one character. You get banes and boons out of that, a positive or a negative, and you go from there. Each character can grant a better bonus to each other character in a line, improving the overall likelihood of success or failure. There is a section on various terms based on various activities, skill sets, based around, as I said before, this is a skill-based system. So you get points, you attach them to skills, you improve overall. If you have no skill points attached to them, it means you're untrained and you get a penalty by default. Yet again, as I said before, Seth Sarkowski covers everything in finer detail. Just note that Jack of all trades is a special one that is very hard to get, and you can only get that in various career paths prior to your character mustering out the final time and going into the Traveller proper adventure. And Jack of all trades essentially lowers your penalty on untrained skills. You got a section on combat explaining tactics, miscellaneous other things, minor actions, major actions, common modifiers for ranged attacks, ambushes. You got a leadership table, damage. Then you have a section on equipment and various weaponry and armors. As I said before, this is basically the core rulebook minus 2 sections. So there you go. You get some various cybernetic implants to enhance your character. All cost money. You get a wafer jack. If you're interested in games much like Cyberpunk, this is a more spacey end to that. A lot of the same kind of stuff. There is a lot of gear in this book. As I said before, and I'll say it again, you even got some melee weapons if you want to go like Space Barbarian or Space Pirate. Yes, and Cutlass. Various other weapons. There is actually an entire system around traveling. When you go to a planet, there is a UFP tag that states law levels and etc., the environment and everything else. When you go to a planet, sometimes there is, say, a more restricted law level or a less restricted law level that can define what weapons they will allow you to carry on you around on the planet or in particular areas. Here's a section on vehicles and vehicle combat. You get a little nice advertisement in there and so forth. Air rat, various other tank tread vehicles. And then you have the Spacecraft and Worlds book. The Spacecraft and Worlds book basically covers spacecraft in more details. By the way, this is actually the artwork that was on the original cover for Mongoose 2nd Edition Traveller. They actually don't use this piece of artwork anymore for the updated book. If you see the updated book, go ahead and get it. There's rules on radiation and temperature, vacuum, weather. This is basically traveling through space. There's a section on animals in here for the game master or the referee. Spacecraft operations, airlocks, power, etc. Space encounters, and many more. Space combat for your spaceships. In this book here, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot on building spaceships. It basically tells you the basic components and how they operate. In Traveller, you can build your own spaceship. There is common spacecraft section, a basic key on how to read it. So you got the Bar Trader, which is an iconic ship in Traveller. There's the Free Trader. The other one is a scout ship, laboratory ship, which is a gigantic ring ship, mercenary cruiser, patrol corvette, safari ship. Skipping through, this is the iconic scout courier ship, and then there's the seeker mining ship, and so forth. Keep going through this. There's still a lot of ships in this book, as well as a few other things. There is a section on basic psionics. I know that there's a missing there's a section that's not in this book. Maybe it's something else, or there is actually psionics in this book. I do know that there's a section that was not covered in these two books that wasn't covered in the core rulebook. Also, the trade goods table. Your characters can do trading in materials and other stuff. Section on world creation, how to create your own worlds using the if I remember correctly, UFP. So you can actually make a code that identifies all the components of a world. See, it's kind of hexadecimal, but it's not. And so forth. And that pretty much ends it out right there. This is actually a rather awesome box. It originally MSRP'd for $69.99. Considering that you basically get the core rulebook plus an adventure plus a map plus pre-made character sheets in it. Core rulebooks are usually like $59. So you basically, yeah, it's right there in the $69 range. However, as I said before, oops, this is no longer in production. You would have to go to eBay to find it, and it's actually quite hard to find. You are going to spend a good penny on it to get it. So, there you go. I would say that this is actually an incredibly good starter set. At the original MSRP price, I would say it's basically a 4-star or starter set. I can't remember what the missing chapters out of the core rulebook. I know that they're not majorly important. The missing chapters out of this is that would be in the book, that it's not in these two books. But I can't remember. I know it's not important. But anyways, this is actually a really cool starter set. It's a hefty box overall, even for its size. You compare this to like a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition starter set box in weight. This is quite chunky. So, as I said before, 4 stars. Odds are you're going to have a hard time coming by this because it's discontinued and they don't make this anymore. They pretty much replaced this with the Traveller Explorers Edition book, which is a soft cover book. Oops. Which, quite frankly, is only $24.99. Ooh. It's a soft cover. And it's fairly thin. And it's only like 72 pages at the index. This is the economy option now for beginning into Traveller. So if you are interested in playing Traveller but don't want to spend a whole lot of money, this is the super basic version of Traveller 2nd Edition. You can go ahead and pick this up at any good gaming retail store, and it's $24.99. However, this is a really nice box set. If you get this is for under $70 complete, you got a really good bargain there for the material that's inside. This is definitely awesome thing. So, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.